There is nothing in this world more powerful than the bond between a soldier and his dog. This soldier rescued a fire dog, and now they are inseparable. They've been through so much together. When you think of a firefighter, you might think of someone who doesn't care about anything other than saving lives. But being a firefighter also means that you're able to save animals too. That's exactly what happened to an adorable Dalmatian named Lucky. When he was just a little guy, Lucky got lost in a house fire. He was separated from his mother and all alone in the rubble, so he must have been terrified out of his little mind. But firefighters came to the rescue. They took him home and gave him a chance at a new life. And one of those firefighters was Jeremy, a man who would soon become Lucky's best friend. Jeremy was a soldier who served his country proudly. He went to Afghanistan in 2014, where he spent a year fighting for peace. He was away from his family, but he had Lucky by his side the whole time. Lucky became his emotional support animal, and they did everything together. The two of them were so close that it almost seemed like they had a sixth sense for each other. Jeremy knew exactly how Lucky was feeling most of the time, and if something scared or upset Jeremy, Lucky would be right there to comfort him. The soldier and his dog had to go through some pretty tough times together. In fact, their bond was put to the ultimate test when they were both injured in an explosion. But even after going through such a traumatic experience, their bond only got stronger. It made them realize that they could always count on each other no matter what. While deployed overseas, soldiers can become pretty lonely. It can be hard to find things to keep yourself entertained. So many of them turn to writing letters to pass the time. But it can take a long time for those letters to get sent and received, which can make some soldiers feel isolated and depressed. So sometimes soldiers will write letters to inanimate objects instead. This helps them cope with loneliness and process their emotions. They may open up to these inanimate objects as if they were actually real people. Sometimes they'll talk to photos of loved ones, and other times they might talk to stuffed animals. And occasionally, as in Jeremy's case, they might write letters to their dogs. After spending so much time together, Lucky knew Jeremy better than anyone else. Lucky knew when he was happy, sad, angry, or just needed some company. And since they couldn't talk to each other, Lucky would write Jeremy letters. Now, don't get me wrong, Lucky didn't actually know how to write, but he could spell out a few words here and there. And when he spelled out those words, they always spelled out exactly what Jeremy was thinking. It was almost like they had a telepathic connection. Lucky was incredibly intelligent. He could understand most of what Jeremy was saying to him, and he could figure out what Jeremy wanted just by looking at him. Jeremy might not have been able to tell Lucky how grateful he was for him, but he could show him by petting him and giving him lots of love. And as we said before, Jeremy would write Lucky letters telling him all the things he wanted to say. And each time he wrote one of these letters, it was like magic. Each letter was exactly what Jeremy needed to hear. Of course, Jeremy never actually showed these letters to anyone. But he wrote them anyway, because it helped him process his feelings. And the letters helped Lucky understand his best friend a little better. When Jeremy first met Lucky, he thought getting a dog while he was deployed would be crazy, but Lucky changed his mind. He knew Lucky would be perfect for him, and the dog quickly became his emotional support animal. While Lucky wasn't able to replace Jeremy's family, he was able to give Jeremy the companionship he needed to stay sane. Jeremy's friends were surprised when he told them he had a dog with him, but they quickly fell in love with Lucky too. Everyone was amazed by how smart the dog was. He could do all sorts of tricks, and he was always eager to please Jeremy. Lucky followed Jeremy everywhere. He would walk beside him on his base, and he would go with him on dangerous missions. Lucky's job was to stay close to Jeremy and make sure he was okay. He was trained to detect explosives and would bark to warn Jeremy if he ever sensed danger. Lucky was also great at making Jeremy laugh. If he ever felt down, Lucky would come over and lick his face or put his head on his lap. He was always there for Jeremy and never left his side. While Lucky provided Jeremy with lots of love and support, Jeremy had to do the same for Lucky. The dog had gone through a lot in his life, and he still had nightmares about the fire that killed his mother. Jeremy would comfort Lucky whenever he had a nightmare. And he even took the dog to a therapist to help him deal with his anxiety. Sadly, not everyone was happy that Jeremy had a dog with him. There were a few higher-ups who didn't think pets should be allowed. They said Lucky was just a distraction and that he shouldn't be with Jeremy. They told Jeremy that Lucky was just a liability and that he could get them both killed. But Jeremy refused to listen to them. He knew Lucky would never intentionally put him in danger. Of course, Jeremy and Lucky were very close, but they weren't the only ones. The other soldiers loved Lucky too. They would ask to pet him during their breaks, and he was always happy to oblige. Lucky was great at making people laugh. And when they were with him, they forgot about all their worries. Then in 2015, Jeremy and Lucky's luck ran out. While they were on a mission, they were ambushed by enemy forces. An explosive device detonated near Jeremy and Lucky, and they were both seriously injured. The soldier had shrapnel in his face and chest, and Lucky had wounds all over his body. They rushed both the man and the dog to the hospital, where doctors worked quickly to save their lives. Lucky had lost a lot of blood and had trouble breathing. He had wounds on his head, ears, paws, and tail. But the most serious injury was to his eye. A piece of metal had gone into his eye socket and caused severe damage. Doctors had to remove his eye to save his life. Of course, Lucky was very scared, but Jeremy came to visit him every day and stayed by his side. He talked to Lucky and told him how much he appreciated him. He told him how brave he was and how proud he was of him. Jeremy also promised Lucky that he would get him a special eye patch once he recovered. And Lucky did recover. The surgery was a success, and he was able to live a normal life. Once Jeremy got back from his deployment, he got Lucky the eye patch he had promised him. He also made sure to take extra care of Lucky. After everything they had been through together, they deserved it. Now that Jeremy was home, Lucky was the happiest dog in the world. He loved going on walks with Jeremy and playing fetch in the park. He also liked riding in Jeremy's truck and going on adventures. Jeremy and Lucky also started doing charity work together. They wanted to raise awareness about the importance of adopting rescue animals. They also wanted to raise money for other soldiers who had PTSD and needed therapy animals. Together, they were able to help a lot of animals and people in need. After everything they had been through, Jeremy and Lucky were finally able to live a peaceful life. They were best friends, and they knew they could always count on each other. Lucky was more than just a dog to Jeremy. He was his confidant, his emotional support animal, and his best friend. The dog had saved Jeremy in so many ways, and Jeremy knew he would never forget that. Hey everyone, do you have a story of a soldier and his dog? Let us know in the comments below. And please like and share this video if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe either. Thanks for watching.